Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here with Heather.
Hello, everyone.
We're back, and we got a great show today. And I hope you guys have been liking the last few shows. We're going to do some more about the market and some things like that coming up. And we're going to do some cool shows. I'm not sure we're going to call them hacks, but we're going to do some shows on things that you need to know when you're buying investment properties that I don't think we've really covered in depth and that we probably should. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was my teaser for the day. So you're welcome for that. But today we've got some special guests, very cool people. We've known them and have been doing business with them for quite a while. And they're just really great human beings. I'm going to let Heather properly introduce them, and then we're going to pummel them with questions today about what they do. It's so cool. I mean, and you guys are going to need to strap in your seatbelts, get ready for this because you're actually going to have to think today. So get ready for that.
You might need your pad and paper to help grasp some of these concepts. So I'm going to give a little background on how I met Chris and Tanisha Souza. So I had a client actually reach out to me, and my client said that he was interested in buying properties and he had some unique questions, and then asked me about working with Tardus and said, hey, could I work with you and work with Tardus? And I said, I don't really understand your question. So I was really confused.
We don't discriminate.
I know.
Work with whoever you want.
Sure, I don't care. And then in the end, he introduced me to Chris and Tanisha Souza. They're the owners of Tardus Wealth Strategies. They are a coaching company. They also have a patent, and they help to have a calculator to help you and guide their clients, which I'm also a client. So this has been an episode we've been waiting a little while to record just because we've talked about this for a while, because it's really cool, unique business strategy that incorporates real estate, but also other types of investments, and allows their clients using the calculator to see how long it will take them to retire by doing short-term investments as well as long-term investments like real estate. So I hope I got that all right, guys. That's my summary. So it's a really cool strategy, though. Tanisha's background, she's an attorney. And so a lot I their strategies.
You won't hold that against her.
I know, right?
Yeah.
She's a very personable attorney.
Not on this show.
But I think you guys utilize that in a really cool way so that you build confidence in the techniques that you guys are using by having that legal background, which I think is really cool. And Chris, her husband, also has a background in sales, running a car dealership. They live in Hawaii, which also makes them extra cool. So welcome to the show, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, I didn't know Hawaii made us extra cool. That's awesome.
Oh, it does. It does. So when I first met you guys, met you over the phone. I said, well, I think I'm going to go down. I think I want to talk to them in person, and it doesn't hurt that it's Hawaii. So
I think I need to go to Hawaii and meet these people.
Super important. So I have a couple of, starting off questions. So I've been a client for about 1.5 years. And when I first came to you guys, you explained how you layer the investments kind of on top of each other to help people be able to retire faster. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works?
Sure. Yeah. So the way it works is we call it the Income Snowball Strategy altogether. But the way it works is a combination of using leverage to purchase short-term amortized investments. Amortization is the same thing as what you do when you buy property and you get a 30-year mortgage. And so the payments are real small when you get a 30-year mortgage. If you were to get 15, most people don't like those because the payments are too high and your realistic cash flow. Mm-hmm. But when we're investors, what we want the short term to reduce the risk so we get our money back quicker, but also to stack that income to get a lot more income faster. And then you use that large amount of income in addition to your cash flow to just create some momentum. And then you start stacking those investments on top of each other. So the type of investment, the amount you invest, the amount of leverage you use, the timing of it, it's all important. I think some people make the mistake when they see it, when they watch our videos to think, oh, you're just using leverage to buy investments. Yeah, everybody knows how to do that. But we couldn't get a patent on something like that. It's the idea is to utilize a certain type of investment to start and then begin layering on additional type of permanent investments like real estate and notes, mortgage notes, things like that, that will last forever potentially. And it really just makes it go fast. So that was the original idea. And we created a calculator around that. And I was able to get a patent in 2014. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, for myself, I think the difference maker for me is I was saving some money to buy another rental property because that's been my focus, right? But I didn't have enough to buy a rental property yet. But I had good income coming in. So I had extra money every month. But even if you have $2,000 a month coming in extra, it's going to take several months to save up for, a $25,000 down payment. And so my wheels were, I just remember my brain felt like it was processing too slow while you were talking. Like, I feel like I understand it, but I don't, because it was such a shift in the way of thinking, right? I think that's, yeah.
I think for me, it goes back to what you said, Tanisha, it's the income snowball. Everybody listening, most people in the country have heard of the debt snowball, right? And everybody understands how that works. It's a compounded way to pay off debt very, very quickly, right? You use all of the extra income to chuck down on the first one and get it paid off really, really quick. And then you use the rest of that payment to add to the other one. You're creating this snowball coming down a mountain, right? Paying off all this debt. And I think I'm a really visual person. So as I imagine this, I'm thinking, okay, income snowball, what the heck does that mean? It seems to me that it would be the same kind of thing, just with income. And maybe using that analogy makes it a little bit easier for the slow guy in the group here to understand exactly what this layering concept actually does for a person.
That's right.
Yeah, I think most people think of the rule of 72 and the normal saving process, and it's completely different. It's stacking one investment on top of the other, and it goes quicker and quicker. But what to do and when to do it is really key. And people think of, when they start seeing it, they go, oh, it's an interest rate arbitrage. And we tell people, no, it's not. It's a cash flow arbitrage. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, so for me, what I did that you guys helped me do, I should say, is I took those extra savings every month and I put them into the income snowball, and it allowed me to grow my cash faster so that I could buy property faster. And coming from the real estate world, that's super awesome.
I mean, this is the part where everybody's brains just kind of go, like everybody's tracking, and then it goes, okay, wait a second, but how? Like, how does the same amount of money coming in every month? Heather's example was $2,000. So how do I have $2,000 a month coming in? And all of a sudden, if I just connect with the cool people from Hawaii, I can have more money. How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, I think, if we go back to the analogy you were talking about with it, which is the debt snowball, right? With the debt snowball, what you're doing is you're taking the income from your rentals or whatever it is, and you're paying down the mortgage. Well, there's no mortgages in this scenario with the income snowball. You're taking a different type of leverage. You're not using a mortgage, right? The leverage has to be short-term as well, and it has to be interest only. So you're taking an interest only, it doesn't have to be, but in most cases, it helps. Yeah, it does. It helps. So you're taking that interest only, which as you pay that down, the payment gets smaller, right? Whereas if you pay down a mortgage, the payment doesn't change, right? The payment's going to stay the same. Okay. And when that payment goes down, you're actually paying the line of credit off in a few months rather than in 8 years with the debt snowball, right? So you're paying off this leverage. You're using a certain amount of leverage that can get paid off in a very short period of time. So to kind of show you why the amount you use matters, we just had somebody do this the other day. They said, well, I've got $250,000 in a home equity line. Why don't I just throw that into my income snowball? And I'm like, because your cash flow is too small. So it will take you too long to pay that off with just the income from the investment. And therefore you don't get the stacking effect, right? You won't be able to do a second investment where the income from that investment is on top of the next investment, which goes on top of the next investment. So within a year, usually our clients have anywhere from, say, $700 a month in income to $2,000 a month in their first year in additional income that they can use to continue to grow, to get started with their next rental property. And so now I know, Heather, how you were able to get that.
Oh yeah,
that triplex. Now I know how you're.
We've opened a wound. You helped
me get it. You helped me get it, Tanisha. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was like we were having a party for you guys, not Heather.
Okay, we'll take that.
Yeah. So backstory, guys, we just had a tour for a bunch of coaching students or clients of Chris and Tanisha in North Carolina. And we were there and we were touring properties. And one of the properties we were touring, everybody wanted this property and Heather had it under contract. Like Heather already had it under contract.
So everybody was like, what?
That Heather was insider trading and she was, stealing the system.
Stop it.
Which was hilarious.
You should have brought that up. See, with Tardus.
And anyway, that was all a testament. It was really a testament to Tardus Wealth Strategies. I mean, that's really what it was. We should have had a cake and everything inside of the duplex. When you think about it.
Okay, yeah.
That's funny you said it opened up a wound.
You're welcome, Heather. You're welcome, Heather. I'll get you out of that one.
Man, you guys
I
are
love
killing
the
me.
concept you just talked about, though, Tanisha, because as a visual person, again, I'm starting to kind of grasp this, and I want to just say it the way that I think, and maybe that'll help somebody else out there who thinks the way that I do. So Heather's got this extra money on a monthly basis, and that's what you're calling cash flow, right? Same terminology we use, right? So Heather's got this extra couple of grand a month. Then she goes out and gets a debt vehicle, the right one, just for giggles, we'll call it some kind of an equity line, right? So she's got this line of credit. With the line of credit, she's buying a short-term asset. So now she owns this little asset out here. That asset is paying her
Interest.
however much, and it's amortized. So that payment is fixed, but the payment, and it is both principal and interest. So the payment is higher, and her debt payment on her line of credit, since it is interest only, is lower. And that's what starts this income snowball. We use all of that payment to pay back very quickly the debt. But when the debt is paid back, Heather is still getting all of the income from that short-term note. So that note may be a 3-year note, right? That's coming back. Everybody in here knows what notes are. We've talked about them. So she may have a 3-year note, but she may have been able to pay the debt service back on her line of credit in 5-6 months. And now she has the balance of that 3-year note coming in. And then what you're talking about with layering is now she's got all of the money back in the line of credit. She can go do another one of these notes and do the same thing. So it's kind of like the debt snowball, completely in reverse, but started with a line of credit, which you would probably never do to pay off debt, right? That just seems completely wrong. But on the income side of this, that's like stoking a fire, right? You're using this extra piece of leverage. And I think that's why you were saying this is not just a leveraged way to buy assets. This is like double leveraged way to buy assets. Or maybe I misunderstand, or maybe I'm saying that wrong, but there's 2 pieces of leverage here that are creating the fuel to go and buy even more assets in stage 2 or 3 or whatever.
So
Did I
bought
confuse
3-year.
that, or was that accurate?
No, that was good, because I bought 3-year notes 18 months ago, and I've paid my debt off and done it now 3 times, and I've been able to I'm still making money. Like I'm still making money and transferring money every month because they're 3-year notes that I've bought 3 separate times. So it just allows that cash flow to grow faster. And if you can make your cash flow grow faster, your cash reserves, I guess I should say, grow faster, then you can invest quicker and retire faster, which is super cool. And what I loved about it is I came to you guys and said, well, this is how much money I have extra every month. And you said, okay, here's the size of line of credit that you're going to need to use. Like they gave me the numbers. They said, based on your goal of how much cash flow you want in the future to end your snowball or retire, so to speak. And then what mine was to retire my husband. So my husband is temporarily, at least, retired till he decides he wants to go back to work.
He wants to be. He's retired.
But that was my goal, right? So I said, I want this much money in cash flow every month, and I have this much money to work with. And the calculator spit back out, here's what you need to do, Heather, which was pretty cool. So that helped me get some guidance and direction. And mine, I actually used a whole life insurance policy instead of a line of credit because I had the money sitting in there and wanted to utilize that to get the interest back into myself. I'm greedy like that, I guess.
I think you explained cash flow.
Go ahead.
What it is that, let's say you take a $10,000 line of credit and you're buying a asset, amortized debt, and it pays you $300 a month. Okay, here's the example. And on that $10,000 line of credit, let's say it's 10% interest.
Yeah.
And if you never pay that off, your interest rate will be $1,000 for the year. So you divide that by 12, it's about $85 a month. Take a dollar or two. So that's your cost on the money if you never pay it off. But now you invested in the short-term amortized debt, meaning the notes for 3 years, let's say $300 a month coming back at 10%, the exact same amount. And now you get $300, your cost is $83. Let's say your personal cash flow is roughly $1,200 a month. So now you're getting $1,200, you add the $300 to it and making it really simple. Yeah. Now you're paying off that $10,000 line of credit in roughly 6.5, 7 months.
Because you have $1,500. Is that what you're saying? Because you have $1,500 you're using to pay off.
Yeah,
okay.
Going towards paying it down. Once it's paid down, it's at zero. What do? You do it again. You stack it again. Now you got 600 plus your 1,200, so roughly $1,800. And then instead of paying it off in 7 months, 6.5, it goes 5, 4, 3. It gets quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
And then actually on the calculator, it gets bigger and bigger. So what we have to do, you literally start paying it off every month and a half, every month.
Yeah.
And all you're putting in is $1,200. How does $1,200 pay off $10,000 in 1 month on the line of credit? It's crazy. It gets to be a huge thing. And then the calculator tells us, example, let's take the 10,000, you go to 20. Now you go to 20,000 and the same thing happens. We slow the process back down to 6, 7 months, and then it does the same thing: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Then the 20,000 turns into 40.
I want to make sure when we time out just for a second that the reason that you guys go to a bigger line of credit, just in case everybody, I'm speaking for the slow people in the room here today. So for my benefit, the reason that you get a bigger line of credit is because you're buying a larger asset, which then provides larger chunks of cash flow, and so you're back out at that 7-month mark. But you're doing the snowball again with larger assets this time, right? So the $10,000 assets that we were buying, however many of those we did, 5, 6, 7 of them, those are all still paying. And now we're going back and starting the thing over with 20. So now we've got 5, 6 of those things coming in, probably not even that many, because now you got all this other money coming in to pay it all off. And then we go to, and the calculator says, now it's time for 40 or whatever it is. I'm sure they start to leapfrog a little bit more than just 10 grand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I struggle, as you guys know. I don't know how many conversations we've had. I think in the back of Tanisha's mind, she's like, Ron just doesn't get this. And I'm pretty quick with math, guys. But this one, I was just like, I don't understand what is going on here. I don't get this. But I think this has been a pretty clear example of why this thing works, because you're paying the debt off very, very quickly in relation to the payments that are coming back from that asset. And then once it grows to a certain point, guys, the cash is coming in so quickly. So when do you make the transition from this stoking of the fire? I mean, I don't think you ever really turn that off, but from the stoking of fire to buying larger assets, because that's how we met you. Somebody was buying a larger asset, right? They're buying a rental property of some sort. How does that work? Like, what's that transition look like?
Yeah, so actually, we usually start that in a person's second or third year. So right after, once they start building up what we call fast burning fuel, which is the short-term amortized investments. It doesn't have to be notes, by the way, right? There's lots of types of investments that you can amortize over a short period of time. And people come to us almost every day with new investments that can be used to make this work. But anyways, so what you would do then is, so let's say that we just run it with the short-term amortized income, we say, and the calculator says in 8 years, if you do this and use 2-year notes or 3-year notes or whatever their thing is, at this rate of return, you will be able to stop working in 8 years. So what that means is you will no longer have to put in any money into the snowball. You can just draw out whatever you need to pay all of your bills, and you will be retired. And if you think about that, like I said, I've talked to financial planners who I've asked them, can you do this? Can you take somebody with $1,500 or $1,200 or $2,000 a month and retire them in 8 years? And they were like, no way. Can you do it if they have $100,000?
Can you do it in 30 years?
Right. They're like, no, we can't do it. So we found a loophole. This is a hack, a loophole, a shortcut, right, to getting to retirement. And so after that first year, when they've built up, it doesn't have to be first year, it might be 2 or 3 years, but usually after the first year, they can start layering in these other types of permanent investments like real estate. Believe it or not, somebody whose financial freedom date is years out, if they add in one rental property that's leveraged with, and all they're getting is maybe $300 or $400 a month, that can speed up their financial freedom date by 2 years. So now they're financially free in 6 years instead of 8 because they bought one rental property that gives them an extra $300, $400. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing what that does to the calculator. It's just absolutely crazy. And this may be the first time in several years now this is actually fully sunk in, guys. This is actually probably pretty good that we did this. Because I'm actually going, well, wait a second. I wonder how much I really could do on this thing. I'll be the guy. I'm the guy that's like, I got this line for $500,000. How do I use this? And you'll be like, no, Ron, slow down, buddy.
So I think one question I have is, why does real estate work so well with the fast burning fuel? Because I know you said it cuts it by 2 years, but why? Because it's just cash flow.
Well, it's because it's permanent. So going back to something that Ron just said, he was saying that why do you increase the line of credit? Well, there's one reason that we didn't mention, which is a big one, is that if you continue to use the same size the entire time, eventually your snowball will stop growing, because as the notes have been completely repaid, or as your investment has completely repaid in 3 years or 2 years or whatever your time frame is, you're buying a new one at the same dollar amount.
Got it.
You're losing the same amount of income that you're gaining. So you have to increase it. It has to increase over time. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons. But the fast burning fuel, it has to continue to replenish. You need much less of it just buying one or two properties. Because so it speeds it up by so many years. But if you think about it alone, if all you did was buy one rental and it generated $300 a month for you, and you need $5,000 or $6,000 to cover all your expenses, it's going to take you forever to buy enough real estate to do that. But if you can start this, and then in your second or third year, start buying properties, one a year even, you're done quick. I mean, you're completely retired so fast. It's mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm. The concept is really, it's complex, but it's actually pretty simple once it actually hits your brain. And I'm stating this for the first time. Tanisha, you're laughing at me. And I'm like, Ron, I've been trying to tell you this for years now. What the hell? But it's actually a pretty simple concept. It's not an entirely different concept than we teach on a regular basis. It's simply using other assets to drive an engine that can create more cash for you to buy the permanent assets that you want, right? And I think the coolest piece of this is because, we talk on this show a lot about the amount of money that you need to invest. And we talk about buying apartment buildings. And we talk about all these really cool things. Some people listening are like, yeah, that's great. One of these days I'll be able to do that. This is something that you can start with a smaller amount. We've used a line of credit of $10,000, but they could potentially use one of $5,000 or whatever it is, right? That makes their cash flow numbers work. The most important thing is that you have more money left over at the end of the month than you have month left over at the end of your money, right? So, I mean, then we go Dave Ramsey, rice and beans, debt snowball, get that thing situated. And then after that, once you've actually got some cash flow, this works for anyone who has additional cash flow at the end of the month, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, having $1,000 to $2,000 a month, that's not that hard. And if you have that, I mean, we've just heard, Heather used $2,000 a month, and it's done. I know what it's done for her, because she keeps buying all the property out of our inventory. And
I also pulled up my lending club account and showed Ron. So yeah, I definitely have talked to Ron about this a lot, because I've been really excited about it.
And in spite of all of that, this is the first time it's actually hit. So it's remarkable.
That was a great.
Hey, I'm a slow learner, Chris.
Yeah. That was a great testimony on the buying tour. Everybody got to see it, like, oh, Heather bought that one. Heather got that one. Heather got that one. I was like, you see,
we don't have any.
There was one, Chris.
$2,000 a month.
I know. He's stop, Chris.
I don't want our listeners to think that I'm that much of a big baller over here. I don't know. Just the one property, but I've been super, super excited though to watch it grow. And for me, the concept aligned really well for me, because I remember texting my husband from Honolulu and telling him, because it was the paying off the debt. So getting a line of credit for me, mostly for my husband, super uncomfortable. Like, he would not do that. But it was, well, you pay it back, right? You're never totally overextending yourself to build cash flow. You get a small line of credit for most people, and then you pay it back over and over again, so that you're never have this crazy amount of debt that you're building alongside of it, which I think is a really cool idea and pretty conservative as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
that
very
helps.
conservative.
Yeah, I think to that point is that one of the things that you said up front, Tanisha, was you may have a really big line of credit, but what the calculator does, your patented calculator, what it does is it tells people, okay, you may have a $250,000 line of credit, but that's not going to work. And it's not conservative, and it's
Right.
not the way that you should start, right? You should start with this amount because this amount matches your cash flow, and it's something that's comfortable for you. You know, it's one thing for me to come and tell you, hey, I could do $50,000 a month. And then I think one of the cool things is that the coaches on your team are able to go, okay, maybe we should start with 10, Ron. Maybe we should, back that down just a notch, because you got to keep doing it, right? It's not like you can just go, well, to this month I got 50. Next month it may be 1, but this month I had a big closing, got 50, right? It's the consistency. I just got back from a mastermind group, and that's one of the main things everybody was talking about was it's consistency that wins the race. I divert a little bit on the whole tortoise and the hare thing. I think that's stupid. The hare should have won that race, hands down. He wasn't consistent. It wasn't because the turtle was slow. Turtles still get squashed in the street, right? You do have to speed things up just a scotch, but it's the consistency of that movement moving forward that's really important. And that's what makes this thing work. It's consistently putting the money into your cash flow back into the system and paying that thing off that buys these assets free and clear, right? I mean, all these assets are free and clear once you pay that line of credit off. It's really cool.
So I have one more question. Who is the ideal person that would work best for the snowball, I should say? So I want to set parameters for people who are interested. So that way they see if they align with what, do you need a certain amount of monthly cash flow, as a minimum?
Yeah, I mean, so we've been able to help people with all different types of cash flow, but ideally you probably want to have about $1,000 to $1,200 in monthly cash flow. And, some people are saving that, or they're paying debt down with it or something like that. There's a way to
401k.
pay debt down too. Right. I mean, they can pay debt down with this system too. We just talked about how to create income, but you can use it to pay down debt as well. So they don't have to keep doing that. That wouldn't be the advisable.
Wait. Time out. Are you saying you don't have to eat rice and beans to pay off your debt?
That's correct.
What the hell? What a concept. What a concept.
Yeah. You're splitting
Very
it
cool.
down there at
Very
the same
cool.
time.
So if you're out there eating rice and beans, you can stop. I mean, obviously you have cash flow because that's what you're paying the debt back with. So if you're on the Dave train, you can jump off if you want to. Jump on the Tardus train. It's going to be probably a little bit more fun. Maybe you can throw, I don't know, a little chicken in with the beans and rice or something. Right? I'm sorry. I mean, I like Dave. He's a good guy. I ate lunch with him and his wife one time, and they're great people. And he does a great service for a lot of folks out there. But if you're listening to this show, I think you're probably more motivated to actually make some money in addition to solving debt problems. And so we just learned that this can be used also in a really powerful way to pay off debt in addition to retire you, if that's what your goal is. Or retire your husband, as Heather's goal was, right?
Or, other people that come to us is they have 2, 3, 4 rentals, and they're kind of they don't know what to do with the money. They're trying to they put it in, okay, it's in a little pile in case something happens. Now, what do I do with it? I'm like, income snowball. Perfect.
Yeah.
You start off with more cash flow. That doesn't hurt you.
No.
That's right.
And then you can pay down debt at the same time.
Tanisha's like, Ron. Come on, buddy. All right. So this has been really cool. I think this has been really educational for our audience, for everybody out there listening.
And Ron.
Forget about y'all out there. It's been really good for me. How can people learn more about the cool people from Hawaii that help people create wealth through this really cool, unique, patented process? How do they get in touch with you guys?
I think the easiest way would just be to go to our website, go to tardus.com/coaching. So TARDUS.com/coaching. And, check it out. Get a free strategy session and see if this will work for you. I mean, we'll know right away whether you qualify. You get a 20-minute call with a coach. They'll go through your numbers, find out what your goals are, what you're trying to do. And then they'll meet with you for about an hour to share with you what the calculator came up with and what some additional strategies are to increase your cash flow, because that's one of the things that they do. If your cash flow is only $800, they can get it up to $1,400, or if it's at $1,400, they can get it up to $2,000. So they'll find ways to bring up your cash flow, and then they'll present a strategy to you and say, hey, what do you think about this? Retirement in 7 years, pay off your totally debt-free, mortgage-free in 5 years. What would you like? And see if you'd like to work with us or not. And then you decide.
And I think that's really cool because one of the reasons that the alignment between our companies has grown so much is that I love the fact that there's someone helping people through this. We believe in that strongly on our end. Anybody can go buy a house. And anybody can hire a management company. I guess anybody could go take out a line of credit and go try to make this thing work. But there's a benefit to having someone help walk you through this so you don't make mistakes along the way. And so that the thing just goes the way it's supposed to go. I really like that. So what we probably should do, I should have thought about this beforehand, although I didn't think I was going to have this big of an epiphany. What we should do is like have some kind of a hashtag don't be Ron or something on this thing, right? So when they call you guys, they can be like, you should work with us, even though we heard from you on the podcast, because hashtag I'm not Ron or something like that. Whatever it is, right? We should probably do something like that.
I'm not Ron.
Although I didn't think of it beforehand, so I have literally nothing to give anybody who gives you hashtag I'm not Ron. But you should just feel empowered if you do to not take however many years it's been for me to actually understand this. So.
I'm not Ron.com.
I should buy the domain. Okay. Should have done that before. Anyway, this has been a lot of fun, guys. I hope you guys had a blast. I hope everybody out there had a blast. Really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us and laughing at my expense.
I was going to say, just if they mention that they heard about heard about you guys on the podcast, that might be helpful from our end to know they're working with you as well. So just so we can work synergistically together. Our companies do that really well with them. I reach out to the coaches at Tardus and make sure that we're in alignment with the property goal. And
it does matter.
That's super helpful.
We'll
do something special too for your listeners. Chris and I we will help put together the strategy for your listeners as opposed to just having our coaches do it. So
that's huge.
Wow, that is really big. Well, thank you.
See, and they didn't plan that either. Tanisha doesn't really know what she just did. She doesn't know what she just did. Chris is trying to figure out why she said that. But take advantage of it, everybody. No, you already said everybody. I don't know how many people are listening right now, but you just said everybody. So gear up. You got to do like hashtag just something about deprecating to Ron. Hashtag something like that. Don't be a Ron or something, whatever it is. Guys, really appreciate you. Actually, we really appreciate the relationship that we have with you and all of your great team. It was so much fun hanging out with you guys in North Carolina. And we really appreciate having you guys on the show.
This is fun. Thank you for having us.
To everyone out there, I'm done making fun of myself. To everybody out there, it's really important. If you guys have something you want us to do on the show, want us to talk about, please email us.
invest@rpcinvest.com. There
was no way I was going to get that today. My brain's in other places. So just email us. Let us know if you got any thoughts about the show. And of course, if you like this particular segment, you should share it. And always, you should like it. Give us a review. And, if nothing else, you should give Chris and Tanisha a review because they're cool people from Hawaii. Appreciate all of you guys. And until next time, get out there and make something happen.
Bye.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.